Hello, I am President Obama. As you may know, our US government is currently shut down. So I am having holiday now. During my holiday, I have learned something in actuarial statistic. So today I will going to tell you the stochastic processes I just learned from my yesterday study. First, let me ask you guys a question. If you have savings in your account of $10,000 today, how can you calculate how much will it be 30 years later?
Well, that is easy. I have learned it in my finance classes. You just need to use the current interest rate you have to compound the $10,000 by 30 years. I am surprised that you didn't know it before, President Obama.
Well, I definitely know that. I am President Obama. What I am trying to ask you is that, how if the interest rate changed during the next 30 years period? Then how are you going to calculate your expected future amount?
Well, I don't know. How can we do with it?
What you have said just now, you are using the deterministic processes to calculate the future amount you may have in your account. If you want to take into account the randomness of the future interest rate, you will need to use the stochastic processes to determine the possible outcome you may have.
So what's the difference between stochastic process and deterministic process?
The stochastic processes is also known as the random processes. In this case, the stochastic processes take into account the randomness on the interest rate in the future. As the interest rate you put into calculation is random, so it will result in some random possible outcomes. While in deterministic process, you determine the value of the interest rate to calculate for the future value. Because the input you put into is determined, it will only give you one outcome without taking into account any randomness of the interest rate in the future.
I see. So the stochastic process gives me more than one possible outcome, but the deterministic process only gives me one result.
Exactly.
But why is necessary to use the stochastic process? It is more complicated than the deterministic process.
It is more complicated, but it gives you better and more accurate results than the deterministic process. For example, if the insurance company use only the deterministic processes to calculate the future value of the assets, it may cause a deficit for the company in the future, if the actual return of the assets invested is lower than the determined interest rate, as the reserve they will have is lower than expected. Therefore, it is very important for the company to take into account of the randomness of the interest rate by using stochastic process, other than only using deterministic process.
Oh, I see. Thank you for telling me about the stochastic process, President Obama.
You are welcome.
I think you have the potential to become an actuary, President Obama. If the US government keeping shut down, maybe you can find a new job as an actuary instead.
Thank you for your suggestion, but before that, I would like to enjoy my holiday first.